Welcome, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. It's an honor, and it's great to have all you here in live. I had the pleasure to introduce the next topic. Is basically the art of virtual camera in animation, and we're gonna have a really nice panel. I got the pleasure to work with Real FX and Bron. I met them like 4 years ago when they kind of started embracing Unreal Engine for animation, and I'm really proud to see the outcome. This is like real, true cinematographers that are taking Unreal Engine to the next level. So please welcome Jason from Bron.
All right. Hi, everyone. Great. Sorry, just getting loaded up here. Oops. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming out. I'm from Bron. I'm the executive vice president at Digital, who oversees everything from animation to interactive gaming, ultimately using Unreal at the core of everything that we do, and cross-platform, and trying to figure out how we truly make transmedia for the future in the years to come. So, to start out, we are going to be talking about, as we know, about cinematography and virtual cameras. But well, let's start out with talking about filmmaking as a whole. Filmmaking, the creative medium that encompasses all art forms, architecture, design, music, performance, technology, and photography. Photography, according to the dictionary, the art or process of producing images by the action of radiant energy and especially light on a sensitive surface. It's very dull, and I think it doesn't really encapsulate what we want to achieve here today. And when we see the perfect sunset on that horizon, when we see that morning light come in through the window and hit your coffee cup, and it makes it look like a Folgers ad, what do? We take a photo. And I know that everyone is guilty of that, and you all have pictures of sunsets and photos of your coffee cups in the morning. Don't lie. A photo is really a glimpse into the minds of the creator and that the thoughts that they invoke. It is everything from tension, tension to sadness, kind of, happiness, kind of as well, intrigue, determination, and strength. And when we add movement to these images, all of a sudden they come alive. They take on a new property. They invoke more types of emotion than just a singular image. A simple push-in can make you feel excited or scared. A simple dolly from left to right can bring you on a journey throughout, your character and throughout your storytelling process. And ultimately, you're on that journey with them. And also a crane move can make you feel as if you are, the smallest morsel on the planet, and all of a sudden you are the king of the mountain, and you can see everything from 50 feet up. And it kind of brings me to this, coming back to a little bit of technology and what we are trying to do in this realm. It's crazy to think that in the live action world, we think about movie making as this huge grand process. And this is a picture of an IMAX camera on a techno crane on a movie a while ago. And this entire rig was very expensive, very cumbersome, and it required a crew of 15 to 20 people. Same thing here. Live action, it's expensive, it's crazy, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of people, a lot of manufacturing, just to get that crane move, just to get that movement, just to get that excitement that's captured through a lens, through photography. And ultimately, it's expensive. It's extremely expensive. And, kind of coming back to technology and the amazing time that we live in, we can take all this that you see in front of yourselves and ultimately have the same functionality in your own iPad or phone in this day and age. And that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. So what I'm going to show you right now is a video that I literally did, and John, you don't kill me, but I literally did this morning in my hotel room. Um, and it's a glimpse of a scene that we had on a laptop with an iPad using Glassbox Technologies. I see you there, using their Dragonfly app. So literally in my hotel room using hotel Wi-Fi, we're able to go in and create crane moves, create dolly moves and fly around these interactive worlds. This is a glimpse of one of our current shows that I'll show you what it looks like a little bit later, but you can literally become a helicopter. You can rotate around, and as you see, it's a little bit handheld feeling, but once we get into the review process, you'll see how that kind of takes effect. But you can see the power and the functionality of what we're able to do in this day and age. And my question is, why not? Why not? Why not put the camera literally back into the creator's hands and pump out coverage left and right? Sometimes it does take a long time, as we all know, in animation to place a camera, figure out the right blocking. And we're going. There's a little bit of a pause right here because we're going into the review mode. But you'll see how efficient it does become. There's a lot of benefits that you have while shooting cameras, finding angles that you wouldn't necessarily even think of. And just one second. There we go. So, in this version of the virtual camera plugin, with Dragonfly, we're able to review that shot that we literally just shot, and reviewed in real time and go back and forth. Yes, it's still jagged. It's still a little bit unkept, but now you can have this ease of smoothing out a camera and now creating that perfect helicopter shot, as with an ease of one operator, one virtual camera operator, literally in their hotel room in New Orleans the morning of. Sorry, Jay, again. But you can see the power of this tool. And this really kind of plays into everything from previs to animating your cameras and really expediting the animatic process. And I know this is interesting and great, but you can say, okay, how does this apply in real time? Like, how does this apply in actual production sensibilities? And it's great when you have one shot, because one shot is pretty easy. But look how quickly we just were able to shoot that helicopter camera. And what I'll show you next is an example of what it looks like once we compile everything. And this is going to be a top and bottom of a scene that we have in our upcoming show, Gossamer, that shows how close it is when we have close to final imagery in one of our sequences and what we actually shot on. So you'll notice that there are some images here. I'll mute it, that are less rendered, but it shows the translation of how it goes across. So here you go.
By the way, I'm Daryl.
And we have a little previs there. So that was one of the clips that we do have, and you can see it's pretty amazing that you can have access to all these different camera angles and literally put the fun of filmmaking back into the editorial bay and have the director sit in there and sift through dailies and understand what that means, and go through and finesse the cut until it's actually perfect. So, it's so important that I think we remember where we kind of came from. We remember that photography is an art form. It's a glimpse into your experiences. It's a glimpse into the mind's eye of the creator, and ultimately traveling it across to animation is a no-brainer, and I think it's long overdue. I think it'll give you more iteration time for your creators. I think it'll give you more creative freedom, and ultimately yield in a better project. So the last thing I'll end with is a close to final render of a 3-minute clip of our series. Once again, all of this was shot operated with VCam, using the Dragonfly app and in Engine tools. And we used all the tools in the handbag. No augmentation, aside from camera smoothing, and here we go.
You're the best of the bestest. Bye. Hi, guys.
All right. And that's the end of our presentation. So I'd love to hand it off to our Real Effects friends, who share my same sentiments. Pick up a VCam, try, and you'll be surprised at how organic it is and how much you'll be able to output. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
What's up? How you guys doing? All right. First of all, big thank you to Jason Chen, Bron Digital. Really cool to see some final shots. They've been creating some really cool stuff. I think 3 shows now, either out or in production right now. So yeah, big round of applause for Jason. Let's get our presentation up. How do we do it? Here we go. Good to go. All right. Quick introduction here. I am pretty much the hype man at this point, but I am a creative producer at Real Effects Animation. We are an animation studio. We specialize in stylized animation. We mostly create feature films, but I'm here to talk to you about a really exciting show today that we came out with in August on Netflix called Supergiant Robot Brothers. And we're very excited to talk to you about the virtual camera process in that. I have with me here today Enrico Targetti, who is our cinematographer, director of photography on the show. Really excited. He's going to take you through. We're going to show you a little bit of the show, a trailer, talk a little bit about the creative reasoning behind using virtual camera, and then Enrico is going to do a deep dive into kind of the creative benefits of it and walk through some shots with you as well and the thought process behind it. So first of all, Supergiant Robot Brothers. This is our show that we came out with recently. It is our first show through this new pipeline and this new division that we've been building that is making everything with virtual production workflows in mind through the game engine. So this show is entirely rendered and, oh, that's the trailer, hold on. This show is entirely rendered and visualized in Unreal Engine. Let's start with the trailer, give you a little pizzazz, and then we'll talk about how we actually made it.
The kaiju has entered the atmosphere. Launch robots. Whoops. Something.
Oh, that is just dandy.
I'm Shiny. My favorite color is yellow, and this is my little brother.
And you are an inept version of a Rose-type Guardian-class robot, not my brother.
Is that English?
Current models suggest that the anomaly is a type of wormhole.
Let me guess. An evil empire sends kaiju through portals to exterminate native populations in order to exploit a planet's resources.
This just got interesting.
Feel the power. This is Supergiant Robot Brothers. Feel the power. Shiny and thunder, never give up.
This is my kaiju.
This is a disaster. Our fighting robots fighting.
Holy cow! Kaiju at 6 o'clock!
Impossible. My sensors would have...
Detriment now, sucker!
Feel the power. This is Supergiant Robot Brothers. Feel the power. Supergiant Robot Brothers.
Chest bump!
Right. So that is Supergiant Robot Brothers. It is out on Netflix right now. You guys can go watch all 10 episodes. This is a action adventure comedy. It's basically a sibling rivalry. Step Brothers meets Pacific Rim. It's a lot of fun. It's directed by the fantastic Mark Andrews, who directed Brave at Pixar, and all shot by him and Enrico over here. You'll see, as I talked about, this is visualized in Unreal, but also fully rendered in Unreal. So everything from the final renders, the final EXRs, the effects, there was no compositing on this show. That was all, if you think about any compositing we may have done, that was done in engine itself. We used motion capture for layout, and then of course, talking today about virtual cameras. Basically, the majority of the cameras were shot using this fantastic rig right here. Now, talking a little bit about the creative reasoning for that, there are a number of reasons that we wanted to approach it in this way. This show is very dynamic. It moves very quickly. It's a little Mad Max at times, right? There's a good fun in that, but we need that energy not just from the edit and not just from the performances, but from the camera itself. And you feel that in the show, but the only way to do that is to have these kind of live action feeling cameras. So the camera is always moving. But for a TV show, that's a big challenge, right? Because in animation, if the camera's always moving, that means an animator needs to animate that camera for every shot, and they need to take a lot of time, craft, and care to try to emulate a live action camera, whereas in this case, we can fully simulate that. The other side of it, and this is something that Enrico is going to talk about a lot, is the creative benefit in terms of the editorial workflow, as well as communication and how we work on set and how we collaborate together. So I'm really excited to have him talk a little bit about that. I'm going to pass it off to the fantastic Enrico Targetti.
Thank you, Adam. All right, so this is the core technical team that made all this possible. You can see Adam and I there, and Ray Jarrell, our amazing Unreal operator. This is our office in LA. It's like maybe a quarter of this room, and we shot the vast majority of the entire show in there. So with a rig like this or like that. We all know what is the best, the most known benefit of a virtual camera, which is, wrong button, emulate a live action camera, right? You basically just track this thing into space, and if you move this thing around your camera in Unreal, in real time, it will move. It will get all the imperfections and the little nuances of your camera operator performance basically for free in the engine. So you can rig it up in a configuration like this that is nice and portable, or something like more heavy and that simulates a proper shoulder rig. And we're all kind of familiar with this kind of thing. You just like, what you see is what you get. And in a show that relies a lot on handheld, that is very important. But I wanted to talk about some other benefits that maybe are less apparent. The first one is interaction, right? Remember these things? This is like a 3D mouse. It looks like a slipper. But so these were an attempt to reconciliate the divide that exists between a scene that is inherently 3D and your monitor, which is 2D, right? So there is a like you're all familiar with the idea that, let's say, for instance, I want to take a close-up of Adam here, right? And this stage is your computer screen, right? You just plop a camera in. The camera will probably spawn in the origin. You move the camera on the axis, you move it on the x-axis, and you move it on the y, and then you look through it like, is it right? No, maybe I need to turn it this way. And 10 minutes, 20 minutes have passed, and your idea for a shot is gone, right? With a virtual camera, this entire process is this. I just walk up to him, and I know after shooting 10,000 shots that if I want a certain depth of field, a certain perspective, a certain compression, I need to be with a certain lens at a certain distance from him. I just go directly where I need to be. And this is much better than just like fiddling around with a mouse and keyboard. Like we all know, VR is coming. It's not here yet. This is something that you can just pick up and, as Jason said, do it in your hotel room. And I think this is very valuable, again, for camera and in general to interact with a 3D medium that has to be confined into this 2D screen. The second aspect I want to talk about is communication. So this camera, this device is a translation engine. So here you can see our director, Mark, doing director things, gesticulating, saying like, I want this over here or over there. The beautiful thing that came, I'm Italian, so like I'm used to this kind of stuff. But the beautiful thing about this object is that on set we all created our own lingo, right? Mark will say, okay, I want like a banana movement. What is a banana movement? there's no book that tells you this is a banana movement. That's simply what he means by just orbiting the camera around in a certain way. Or like rubber banding, right? You got our big robot flying, and the camera goes against it, and then just like does like that, right? All these things are all just shorthands that we just built organically by just saying, by the director just grabbing the camera and say, hey, look, when I say rubber banding, this is what I need. This is what I mean. And instantly, everybody's exactly on the same page. So that conversation never has to happen again. You say 2 or 3 words, everybody knows what they mean. And it's when you're working on a 10-episode series, that is invaluable. The amount of time and comfort that allows you is incredible. And the last thing I want to talk about is context. And I'm going to show some example about it. Working with a virtual camera in a real-time engine, okay, not a fast GPU render, a real-time engine when everything happens in front of your eyes, it's very important for context. I'm going to show one shot here. This is one of my favorite scenes. Our characters are inside one of the robots. They are in its armpit, in a lymph node. And as we all know, in a lymph node, gravity works in a different way, right? So it's all very disorienting, right? If I just scrub forward here, you can see that characters start walking on the ceiling and jump around, and see how the camera just organically follows them, because we shot this entire scene with virtual cameras, and we as operators, we were just as confused about the geography of everything as they were, right? So we had to keep one center point, and which was Alex, our protagonist. So we kind of disregarded this idea of you need to shoot at this side of the line, the 180 line and all that kind of stuff. And just we will let the scene play and just hunt for our character, see what our character was doing, and then react to her action until we get to this big reveal, which is, spoiler for the show, her parents that we thought were gone are actually alive. Or are they? Who knows? And you can see, and the camera, you see her walking around this pillar, and the camera follows her, and now the camera is her, and it follows her gaze to this graffiti that might tell you, oh, maybe my parents are alive. All of this stuff works in conjunction, Of course, we go in with a plan. We know what's the point of the scene, but we don't prep every single little detail. We just go there with the North Star idea that this is what the character is supposed to feel, and then we kind of just, like in live action, you just sit, you look at the rehearsal, you look at the director rehearsing with the actors, you look at the actors moving into the space, and you just say okay. I never thought about it, but I think that I can cover the scene from this side. And the fact that we can do all of this with CG characters that are highly stylized like this opens up a lot of creative possibility. Last thing, lighting. Okay, so in live action filmmaking, camera and lighting are the same thing. It's in the name. Photography means painting with light, right? Lighting influences composition. Composition influences light. And I have a background as a live action cinematographer, and when I started working in animation, I was like, wait, I set up my frame, and then I see the lighting after 6 months. No, I can't do that, Look at a scene like this. Everything is dark. I would say that there are 3 main characters in this scene. Is the two girls and a flashlight, right? The flashlight is what creates all the tension. See that? See that turn? So, this is the classic Hitchcock thing, right? Like we're following her, and we think that she's about to shoot her, but at the end, she turns back and boom, flashes the light directly at the camera and in the face of the actor. Covering this scene without any lighting information, I simply don't know how to do it. Like I need to know at any point where the light is in order to frame it correctly, right? Not only that, the actors need to know where the light is. Like we did rough layout with motion capture actors. We gave them little trackers like this to the actors, and then we just told them, okay, when you see the virtual camera over your shoulder right here, okay, and there's a character here, point your flashlight directly at the camera. And they had monitors around, and they knew exactly what we were saying, right? So it's communication and it's context, everything happening at the same time. Last example, and then I'm done. So I have a little pet peeve. You're probably all familiar with the idea, every frame a painting, right? I don't like that idea. I don't like the expression every frame a painting, because we're not making paintings, we're making movies, We're making stuff that moves. We're not evaluating one frame at a time or one aspect of a scene at a time. Everything happens at the same time, and everything happens in movement. Like what we want out of a scene is drama, right? That's what we always want. Even if it's a comedy, we always want drama. And drama, it comes from a Greek word, drao, which means taking action. Okay, so everything is about action. And look at this shot. So this is one of the low point of the show. Our heroes are overwhelmed by aliens. Everything is hitting the fan, and it's terrible. If you read like a normal composition rules book, it will tell you you frame characters that are like heroic and strong from the bottom, and you frame characters that are like in a very overwhelmed situation from the top, because they're tiny and sad in the frame. So, and if you look at something like this, you will say, okay, yeah, I want to frame this character from the top, because the only clue I have is just this gray box thing, right? But if I have the entire concept, if I have the entirety of the scene, is it working? Like that, okay, with lighting and everything, like you see half of her face is in the dark. You see all those like tubes going up on the ceiling, kind of like it's a homage to the first Alien. You see the fog streaming from the side. I argue that this is a pretty stressful image, right? I argue that she looks overwhelmed enough, even though I am quote unquote breaking one of the quote unquote rules, and I'm framing it from the bottom to, and that will tell me that, oh, she's very powerful right now. But yeah, but there are many other things happening in the scene. And again, it's just a way of seeing the scene as a whole, not as a combination of its parts. And so yeah, that's my little spiel about it.
So first of all, thank you all. I want to leave with a couple other things about that. I think especially that last bit, one of the things that really stuck out to me in that shot in particular is that he was able to not only show kind of the dire situation they were in, but also keep this character, Alex Rose, who is the smartest person in the world. She runs the Extreme Defense Force in kind of this dire situation, but still maintain her as a strong character. Even in the face of death, she is strong, but we still get that kind of dire situation from the lighting which you wouldn't be able to get unless you had that in real time. So I hope we can leave you guys with a couple things extra about virtual camera in the process, from communication on set or between artists. You know, we communicate in the filmmaking world through visuals, through imagery. And what better way to be able to do that through the lens of the camera, which at the end of the day is what we're kind of showing to everyone. Interaction as well, being able to interact with animators, with actors, with the cinematographer and the director, being able to bounce ideas off one another, being able to interact with the lighting as well, right? So all of that we can take into account as we're creating these films. And then at the end of the day as well, and this is something we didn't get into much, but there's the editorial aspect. And something in animation we're very used to is planning things out very meticulously up front in 2D, doing storyboards that are cut to very particular shots, and then recreating that through. There's not much creative room for editorial to work. That, I would argue, is the other big benefit of this process, is we can shoot coverage, just like we do in live action. So yeah, thank you all for coming, for listening to us. We will all, we don't have a booth number.
Well, there's no number, but we're right there.
Ourselves, Bron as well, will be just outside these doors off to the right. We've got a booth set up, and we're going to, at different times throughout the week, be demoing virtual camera, allowing you to kind of get a look into some of the scenes, talk to us about how we shoot things, all of that. Also, we're hiring, so little shout out there. But yeah, I want to pass it off to Juan now. I'm really excited for him to show you some of the stuff that Epic is doing. Our entire VCam was built on the last generation of what the plugin that Epic built, and they have gone above and beyond and are really taking that to the next level. So without further ado, Juan.
Okay, so I'm really happy that we started this session focused on art, because at the end, camera plays a big role in the storytelling, and it's really good to see, Gossamer, and how the camera in Gossamer was really special. You can see the fairies flying, and the camera is following, and it's smooth, it's harmonic, and then we can see the camera in giant robots, and then you can see it's more action-packed. So as you can see, the cameras play a really, really crucial role in telling the story. You don't want to make it boring. You want it to be exciting. So yeah. So right now, I'm gonna basically show you the new VCam that we have in Unreal Engine 5.1, and our mission is basically to make this camera much easy to use, and things like that. Because without you guys, without the artists, Unreal Engine is not as magical as it is right now. So we want to make sure it's focused on just go ahead, turn it on, plug and play, and you can just be focused on making art instead of like troubleshooting. Okay, let me download this and that. So give it a try, and I'm just gonna do a quick run. All right, so my name is Juan Gomez. I'm a solution architect director, Epic Games, based in Los Angeles. This is what we have right now. I mean, I only have 10 minutes or even less. So we're gonna just go through a bunch of new features and gonna talk to you about our vision. Our vision is basically increase performance and enable more complex customizations and operator techniques. We're still leveraging ARKit, and with the live link, we can actually enable any kind of tracking source. We saw, RealFX is leveraging the Vibe tracker. You can also leveraging optical track, anything that is available at your studio. It is an out-of-the-box solution for merging the physical and virtual with open-ended intention, rather than just controlling a camera. Users will be able to leverage a UI design and input mapping framework to create their own tool set for just about any use case for virtual products, virtual scouting, and even this tool is designed to actually go beyond VCam. You can actually do interactive, you can do exploration, and as you can see, we can do Archivist tours, augmented reality, and beyond. So I'm really excited because it's easy. It's basically a plug-and-play solution. You go in, you download the virtual camera plugin, then you go to a Place Actor window. You can either search for it, VCam Actor, or you can go to virtual production, grab the VCam Actor, drop it in your scene, and it's pretty much good to go. The only thing that you might need to do is select the VCam Actor in your outliner, go to a VCam component, and then you click on the Enable button. Once you have your VCam component enabled here, it automatically creates a live link source, which is good. You don't have to worry about it. It happens under the hood. If you happen to have multiple tracking methods, then that's where you go here in the live link subject, and then in the drop down, you're basically able to change from the AR kit to whatever is available at your studio or home. Then after you launch, you enable the VCam component, then you can just go into your live link VCam iOS app, and right at the bottom right corner, you have the settings, the gear icon, and here's when you actually can pick which connection type you're gonna do. Highly encourage you guys to try the new WebRTC-based pixel streaming. You will see notable improvement. Speed is really good. Latency has been reduced tremendously. Obviously, you need to make sure that your editor, because you are actually streaming the editor, the content in the editor, so you need to make sure that it's running at least at 24 frames per second or plus in order to achieve a nice, smooth VCam experience. We still have the legacy connection type, which is the remote session. This is still leveraging JPEG streaming using JPEG Turbo for encoding, but I don't see a reason why you want to use it, but it's still there in case you need it. We spend a lot of time in improving the UI. Obviously, there is a lot of UIs out there that are too convoluted. So the UI design around fitting the maximum number of camera features into a single UX for solo operator. There's going to be a lot of production. I mean, we saw Real Effects is just two guys most of the time, a small team. Sometimes it can be just a solo person. So we created a new UI to enable even the solo person just to be able to execute a lot of the operations that are needed. Here's just an example of inspiration. As you can see, a professional HUD is really simple, and there is more customizable one. So that's the goal with this new UI. Allow you just to customize as is needed. So when you have too many buttons, maybe it'd be too crowded, too complex, or even limited. So this version, the VCam, is highly customizable. Our mantra is all about expandability over complexity. So let's take a look. So as you can see, previous VCam in 427, this is now our new VCam, nice and clean. You come out of the box with everything that you needed. And I recorded here some footage of me. I'm at home just playing around. So we do have these new joystick inputs, touch base, so they are away from your screen if you need to use them. But as soon as you touch it, you have your truck, your dolly, everything that you need to position yourself in order to execute a shot. Then we have we still have some tools like the scale tool. I was here, like practicing my camera move. It was too little. I went in, changed the scale, and then I was like, okay, let's try with a bigger scale. And you can see how I'm pushing in. I'm like, okay, this is too much. I go back, easy button, then you click on the upper right corner in the axis, and then that's when you can actually adjust your scale so you can perform this complex or simple camera move in a small range or a large range. Here you can see I'm adjusting now the f-stop, the aperture. I just want to make sure, okay, what is my focal distance? So I'm now with my thumbs just moving, defining the focal plane. I found my focal plane, perfect. But then now I'm like, okay, I need to open more the aperture so I can get a little bit more of the background in focus. So I rewind. As you can see, the bottom of the screen is at the timeline. And now I'm going to be attempting to do a shot where I'm actually going to be rocking focus. So I go in with my thumb, rack focus to the mirror cat, and then marker comes here, and I rack focus again. I mean, I probably will not do this myself, just all these complex camera move. That's the beauty about the new VCam. You can actually decouple some of the operations and put these operations into another controllers. For example, you can have an Xbox controller which actually is controlling your rack focus. So I am only purely focusing on the camera move, making sure I'm capturing the action the best as possible. Or I can actually try to do it myself and record it and then clean it up after the fact. So plenty of opportunities here. Here, showing up, ISO, by default, you probably want to have auto exposure, but if you really want to have the manual power of a camera, simulation of a real camera, the tools are there, adjust f-stops, adjust exposure compensation, ISO, and whatever. Here I'm just showing we have a library, a library of lenses. And I will, in a little bit, I'm gonna just introduce you how easy we now create presets. So here I'm just switching between zoom lenses. I'm moving, we also have prime lenses. I'm picking up a really nice 200 millimeter lens where I have a lot of depth of field. So as you can see, I'm adjusting this really, really nice close up of the meerkat. And then, you keep playing, so it's easy. Bookmarks. So bookmarks the icon, we try to minimize the icons. So bookmarks right here on the bottom left. You can actually, every time that you find a bookmark, you do also actually have the option of restore also the camera settings or only the position. So this icon on the lower left allow you to either position yourself at the bookmark and inherit the camera settings, or if you uncheck it, you will basically just only inherit the translations. Here, just me showing how easy it is, like you can scrub, plan, then play. The button on the bottom right corner is just to take record. I'm not gonna go in details, but this is basically just give you a little bit of an idea of all the new, of the UI and the tools. One thing that I'm excited about is the clipping plane. It allows you just to easily adjust, because sometimes, let's say I'm gonna get this shot really low, and then suddenly like I have these bushes right in front of me, and it's a nightmare. So easy, clipping plane, you adjust it, and then they disappear from you. The hold is a really cool feature where sometimes you discover this shot, and you're like, okay, this is cool, but I'm so uncomfortable. So you hold it, okay, now I position myself again, and hold it, and now you continue the action in a new position. So that's the beauty about big camera. Allows you just to do things like are super difficult in reality, but now with the agile of a simple system, you can just discover these really intricate angles. Okay, input consistency. So right now, in the 5.1 VCam, it accepts inputs via one or two methods. Live link subject, like I told you before, which is basically applies the transformation, and the other is VCam modifiers. And this allows your users to embed C++ or blueprint logic. So all those buttons that you saw before, those are all VCam modifiers. So you can actually adjust, instead of me having the exposure on the right side, you can just easily change it to the left side, or if you want to have a button that actually trigger an animation, you can customize it. It's super customizable. And we also now make the non-live link inputs much easier. It's where you can actually input mapping, like I said before. You can have Nintendo Switch controllers operating some, the dollies or the tracking. You can have Xbox controller. You can even have monogram just to dial, have other people just help you execute a shot. Another thing I'm really excited about it is virtual camera in multi-user. Multi-user transact all the same actions to all the machines, so it's a little bit complicated because not all the Unreal Engine instances have access to the same input. For example, you have two machines in the multi-user session. One that has the VCam, and the other machine is supposed to be with an Xbox controller controlling the rack of focus. The thing is, like, machine one doesn't have the Xbox controller. machine 2 has the Xbox controller. So what's going to happen? Machine 2 just sending signals. This other machine doesn't have the same kind of signals. Therefore, you end up with a different instructions to all the machines. So how we solve this? We solve it by using BP roles. And right now, they're really easy to find in the toolbar. You can actually just click, define a role, and you make sure that the Unreal Engine instance that is doing VCAM has the VCAM assignment roles. I highly recommend using Switchboard. I'm not going to cover Switchboard. Switchboard is an application that allows you to control a stage. And in the Switchboard, you can actually define each role for each machine. Therefore, you say, okay, this machine A is going to be VCAM, machine B is going to be editor. So that way, that machine only controls the VCAM. This other machine can actually change the lighting, change the layout, even reposition the VCAM if needed. This is what I told you. So now you can actually create your lenses, film back, and crop presets under the project settings, cinematic camera. You might, when you open a scene that is migrated from 427 to 5.1 or from 5 to 5.1, and if you happen to have a custom preset, like a lens preset in one of those INI, you're gonna get this warning. It's safe, you can merge it, and what it's gonna do is gonna take those custom presets from your INI, and it's gonna copy now to your project settings, it makes it super easy for you to quickly add a new film back that you might get introduced in your show, or new lenses that another cinematographer would like to use. Future roadmap, we're gonna be supporting multicam support, so meaning that you can, in theory, you can actually run 1, 2, maybe more VCAMs in one Unreal Engine instance. Now we wanna, in 5.2, we're working so you can review the takes inside the VCAM, like the previous VCAM. You can favorite. We're also working on new spline gags for kind of like dolly tracks. And we're also working on layering recording of camera passes. So I want to just give a huge thank you to our amazing VCAM team. As you can see them here. And for more info coming up, please keep an eye on the Epic developer community. We're going to be releasing some tutorials and some updates and things like that. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.